Hey everybody, this video is for the mom who feels pretty defeated at the end of a day. And I have been processing some things and I feel like I have come to some interesting conclusions and kind of a light bulb moment for myself. And I thought I would share it in case there are some of you who kind of have struggled with some of the same things I have. I would say what happens for me is at the end of a night, I find in my head, I'm thinking about some things that I wish I had done differently, things I wish I had said differently, moments I had with my kids that I wish didn't happen quite the way that they happened. And it's like I end up, when the house is quiet, it's like my mind starts seeing all these things, like all these moments that I missed with my kids. And I was there physically, but I feel like I missed them emotionally. Maybe there were things they were trying to show me and I just brushed through it quick because I was thinking about, it's time to make lunch, or we got to get in the car and we got to go here, or we need to finish school, or we need to do all these things. And in the evening, I'm looking back and I'm like, oh my gosh, you totally missed, what your son was trying to say to you. Like, look at what he was trying to show you. You didn't even see that. You only saw the mess that he made and you called him out on that mess, and you totally missed, this beautiful piece of art he was making in the process, or whatever it is. I go through this list and it's all subconscious. It's like I'm not, it's not like I end my day and I'm sitting there like, let's go through this big list of all the things you wish you had done different. But it's like subconsciously, as I go about the evening, thoughts keep popping into my mind of things that I wish I'd handled differently. And as I realized I do this, I've decided to give it a name. I'm calling it the end of day shame cycle, because I think what happens is at the end of a day, I start thinking about these things and then I feel just a lot of shame about it. And I think I usually handle it one of two ways. I either kind of pull myself up by the bootstraps and I'm like, I'm going to try harder tomorrow. Like, you know what? I didn't notice my kids as well as I would have wanted to today, but tomorrow is a new day. I'm going to try harder. Or I might go the other way and I just am like so discouraged and just kind of like, I give in to believing and hearing lies that like, you're a failure as a mom, or you were not very kind with your kids today, or you don't really like your kids very much. And like, what kind of mom gets so frustrated throughout the day, or just prioritizes all the to-do lists over the emotions of your kids, or blah, 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 whatever. And so this has been going on for years, and I've never really caught that this is something that happens in my brain, but I think it does. And I had this like huge epiphany moment it was a couple weeks ago. And it dawned on me, and I don't know if this is a personality thing, if this is like moms across the board struggle with this, I'm not sure. But for me, I realized, I think because I'm an introvert and I tend to analyze and think in my head, and I usually need quiet and I usually need to be alone when that happens. I think at night when it's quiet, it's like my brain turns on, and that's when I start to almost like see my day for what it was. And I realized that maybe this isn't so much about a shaming experience as when I'm just kind of like, Marin, you did all these things. Like, man, you really suck. But more like, what if my brain is finally able to breathe because it's just quiet and I'm able to like get my bearings? And now I'm looking at my day and I'm seeing things that I didn't see before. And what if I could like extend myself grace? And instead of saying you missed all these things and what kind of mom are you that you don't, pay attention to your kids in the moment emotionally, but you just plow past them. What if instead I realized like the day is straight crazy. There is so much noise and chaos and stimulation. Like, I do not thrive in those settings as a human being, period. Like, it wouldn't matter if it was my kids or other people's kids or a job that's crazy loud. Like, I don't think well in chaos. And so what if I realize like that's just how I'm wired, and in the evening when my brain kind of sorts through what happened in the day, what if I saw that as like my superpower, and it's like a gift that I have, that this is how my brain works, so that I can look through my day and see the things that maybe were important, and then prioritize that the next day. Like, I would like, there's one or two things that I would like to call attention to the next day. Like, yes, in the moment today, it would have been ideal had I noticed X, Y, or Z and asked my kids about it, or tried to sit down, and like rub their back and say, could you tell me about this piece of art that you did? But I didn't do that because I was like, we got to make lunch. And so what if I use that as kind of like, oh, tomorrow I'd like to prioritize and take 2 minutes to just hold up this piece of art and say, could you tell me a little bit about that? It was so pretty. I got to look at it last night, tell me more about it, or whatever. So it really changed my perspective, because I was like, instead of shaming myself and pointing out all the things I did wrong the night before or in the nighttime, what if I use that as an ability to say, like, these are important things that you actually do care about. And the only reason you didn't bring them up today is because you were in a crazy, overstimulating environment, and your personality doesn't thrive in that. And so, but deep in your heart, you actually do care about your children. You actually do enjoy them, and you do want to ask them questions about the things that are important to them. And because of that, now that you've recognized that, why don't you set aside some time tomorrow to do that? And so it's really helped me, because I find myself not sitting in shame in an evening. And now instead I'm looking at these thoughts that I have in a really, like, almost in a way like they're teaching me something, instead of they're condemning me for what I didn't do well during the day. Also, I needed to remember what was true. And what is true is I am not enough. I am not enough as a mom. I am not enough as a person. Like, there is only one person who is enough, and that is Jesus. And he will be enough for my kids, and he will love them perfectly. He will love them in ways that I cannot love them. He is enough for them. I am not. And so my goal is not to think about what I did in the evening that I wish was different and then try harder the next day. That's not my goal. But I want to see these thoughts that I have in an evening almost through the lens of, they're kind of showing me something that I can maybe think about and focus on the next day with my kids. And it has felt so like really insightful and kind of hope-filled, and less about what I've maybe done wrong or the ways that I missed my kids that day, and more about like, okay, note to self, tomorrow I'd like to reach out to my child and ask them about that. The crazy thing that's been happening is, as I have changed my way of thinking about this whole process in the evening, and I've seen it as a positive, almost like a skill set of mine, that I can analyze a day and kind of point out in the quiet the things that were important to me that I wished I had commented on, and then make the decision to comment on it the next day. What has actually been happening is, during the daytime, it's almost like my brain has started being trained, because I've noticed in the daytime now that there are times where my brain is catching up to me in the moment, and it's saying, this is one of these moments, like, you want to pay attention to this, not in a condemning way, but just in like there's a teacher sitting on my shoulder being like, oh, wait, pause, like, don't be caught up in the day's activities. Just look at who's in front of you right now. And so it's been really wild to see that, just breaking out of this shame cycle of being mad at myself, and more turning it into this is actually really helpful insight, and not being mad at myself anymore that I don't see it in the moment, but giving myself grace that, like, I'm a human, and the way that I'm wired is not to think introspectively during the day when there's chaos happening, and giving myself just the freedom to say, like, it's not like, it's okay that you missed all of this during the day. Like, you were tired and it was crazy and stressful. But this is great insight into your child. What if you ask them about it tomorrow? Like, that whole thing has been so freeing for me. And so I wanted to share it with you guys, because I don't know if other people struggle with this. This could be totally off base. It could just be me and my own personality. But if not, and other people have similar scenarios, I wanted to share, because maybe it would help you also give yourself grace to know it's really hard to be thoughtful and to be introspective and in tune with your kids' emotions when the day is crazy loud. But maybe you can use that, if you ever reflect on it and find things you wish you had done different, instead of being mad at yourself you didn't do it different, what if you just use that to kind of guide yourself the next day in how to prioritize maybe things you do want to talk to your kids about. So anyway, thought I would share that. And if any of you resonated with that, I hope that it can help. Talk to you later.